If you clicked on this video, then you've probably already heard of this so-called male loneliness epidemic. There's a billion articles and YouTube videos out there all talking about it, and by now it's more or less accepted in the mainstream that there is at least something to it. Like at this point, even the most die-hard progressive feminists have to admit there's at least some validity to the whole notion of this male loneliness epidemic. And I say it like that because the male loneliness epidemic, it's not a new thing, but it has gotten a lot worse in recent years. But this has been going on for a long time now. But it's only really in the past year or two that we're starting to see mainstream publications and people in progressive leaning circles starting to actually acknowledge, like, okay, something's not right here. Because up until recently, it was just outright denial all around. The idea of a male loneliness epidemic was just straight up dismissed by these people. It was just laughed off like it was just too absurd to even consider. But we're past that point now. We're finally past that point. And I'm not sure that's actually a good thing, but the concept does at least have some mainstream acknowledgement at this point. And if you Google male loneliness epidemic right now, you'll find articles from CNN, NPR, and just a litany of other publications. Although, to be fair, the NPR article is one of those, actually, women have it worse type of articles, but whatever, you get the point. And if you don't know what the male loneliness epidemic is, it's basically just the idea that men are disproportionately suffering from loneliness on a large scale. And since I've been seeing more and more people talking about this topic online, I had the idea the other day to do something I like to do from time to time, which is I search for Reddit discussions about the topic to try to understand what normies and women think about it. Because, I have a curious mind. I like to know what people think. So I searched Google for male loneliness epidemic Reddit. And I knew going into this I was just going to end up disappointed, but what I found ended up being even worse than anything I had imagined. Basically, it's just thread after thread of women and normies either denying that there's any kind of male loneliness epidemic altogether, or get this, blaming the male loneliness epidemic on men. So, I thought I'd make this video to address some of the most common things I see normie morons saying about the male loneliness epidemic. So here we go. So one of the biggest ones is all the comments saying something along the lines of, getting a girlfriend won't fix your loneliness. Men need to make more male friends. And I mean, it is true that it's a good thing for a man to have a solid male friend group. And yeah, I mean, it's not just a good thing. It is important. I agree with that. But when you see these comments like this, I can read between the lines. I see what's going on here. And actually, there's a few things going on. For one thing, why do you think so many women and simps are so quick to dismiss any complaints a man might have about his struggles with dating? Because when men talk about being lonely and we talk about there being a male loneliness epidemic, for most men, the main thing we're talking about is how we can't find a girlfriend. And yeah, like I say, both are important, but if you ask any man, if he had to choose only one, like he can either have a girlfriend or he can have a group of other men as friends, which option do you think most men would choose? They'd choose the girlfriend, obviously. So why are women so quick to act like, oh, men aren't lonely because they can't get a girlfriend? They might think that, but oh no, that's not it at all. Men are lonely because they need to make more male friends. That's the real problem. I wonder why women would say that. The answer is, it's just another way for women to shift the blame away from themselves. Oh, it's not our fault. It's men's fault. It's their own fault they're undergoing a loneliness epidemic of catastrophic proportions. No accountability. None. But when you live your whole life in a society that caters to your every whim and desire, This gynocentric society, of course women are going to be dismissive of men's problems. Of course they're not going to accept any criticism. They don't have to. They don't have to look inward and contemplate like, is there anything about my behavior and my choices that are contributing to this male loneliness epidemic? Of course they don't. They live their whole lives in a society that backs them up and supports them no matter what. And it's not even that deep for most women, because for most of them, they really just can't comprehend how different life is for a man. They just think, well, I have men hitting on me constantly, and I've dated lots of different men, and my friends have dated lots of different men too, so clearly men aren't struggling too bad in the dating department. Like, they can't even fathom what life is really like for all the average and below average men out here. But there's another element to this too, this whole notion of getting a girlfriend won't fix your loneliness, what you really need is more male friends. There's another element to this that's even worse. And that is that it's not even men's own fault that they struggle to find male friendship. You know, it used to be considered a good thing for men to have hobbies and participate in group activities and do things with other men. That's one of the primary means through which men have been able to form close bonds with other men throughout history. And actually, it would be especially useful for men now because in this economy, the way it's set up, unless your hometown is a large metropolitan area or a big city, which is not the case for millions of men, unless you come from one of these large population centers, and even if you do in a lot of cases, you have to move halfway across the country just to find a job. And even if you do manage to find a good job in your hometown, the rest of your hometown friend group might not. So they all move away, and so you can't even rely on men forming relationships in their youth anymore because that's only going to be temporary. So yeah, whether or not you had a solid friend group growing up, once you get into adulthood, you're all alone. And what are you going to do then? There's no such thing as male-dominated hobby groups and fraternal organizations anymore. There's no so-called third space for men. Because anytime women see men congregating together, having a good time, building something together, women want to be a part of it. And here's the thing, call me misogynistic for this if you want, but this is just a fact of nature. A group of men cannot bond with each other if women are around. It is not possible. If even one woman joins your, model airplane group or whatever, the whole thing is ruined. Those men cannot bond anymore. Because men have to censor themselves around women. Because women are the ones with all of the power in society. Women can have you shunned if you commit wrong think. And a model airplane group is probably not the best example because I don't know if women have infiltrated that one yet, but it's just like any popular hobby or activity that was historically male-dominated, that's gone. It's all a thing of the past. It's all been flipped on its head. Women get into these groups and they insist on changing all the rules to be more inclusive and don't offend anybody, and before you know it, the place you used to call your temple of iron, where you used to go to lift weights and fart and commune with other men in peace, that place closed down years ago. And now it's a Planet Fitness full of spandex-clad farts wearing outfits that wouldn't even be considered appropriate to wear to the beach. But don't you dare look. Don't you dare look at them. Don't you dare approach one of these strong, independent women. What are you, some kind of creep? She's there to work out, okay? Cool it, man. Back off. She's just there to work out. You're sick. There's nothing provocative about the way she's dressed. And if you think that, then you're sick. That's a you problem, okay? It's just comfortable, okay? What do you expect her to just wear a t-shirt and sweatpants? Are you out of your damn mind? She's just there to work out. Getting a girlfriend won't cure your loneliness. fucking ridiculous. And the other thing about this, I mean, it's a self-perpetuating cycle. If women find you repulsive, then most men aren't going to want to hang out with you either because your presence is going to scare all the hoes away. But if you don't have any male friends, women are going to think something's wrong with you, so that's a dead end too. So all us average and below average men out here, we're just riding on this perpetual motion machine of loneliness, and we're screwed. We're screwed. Women accept no responsibility, and the hordes of weak men, those simps, they aren't holding women accountable either. And you know, I can scream into the void as much as I want, and I'm not the only one talking about this, but even if thousands of us desperately lonely men are shouting from the mountaintops about how much we're suffering, it just falls on deaf ears. Nobody's listening except other lonely men. Nobody cares. And when they do listen for a minute, it's just to study up so they can gaslight and manipulate some more. You know, we're talking about being in the midst of a male loneliness epidemic, and even when that's the topic, like literally even when the topic of discussion is the male loneliness epidemic, women are still dismissive of us. That's the whole problem. You don't care about what we're saying. We are struggling out here. We're suffering. Suffering. This is serious. But nope. Actually, have you considered that it's your own fault you're lonely? Like, whatever. So yeah, women and normies are just blaming men for their own problems again. They say men's problems are the fault of men, and their problems are also the fault of men. So, okay, whatever. It's nothing new. So, yeah, what else are they saying? So yeah, the other thing I see over and over again in these Reddit threads about the male loneliness epidemic, it's comments talking about therapy. Which again, it's just another way to blame men for their own problems. Like, no way could this issue have anything to do with the current state of society. There's nothing systemic here causing any issues. I mean, all of the issues women face are systemic, and all of the issues marginalized groups face are systemic. It's the institutions that's to blame, not the individual. But, wait, no, now we're talking about men? Have you considered trying therapy? Maybe you should stop blaming other people for your problems. You know, try a little bit of introspection sometime, why don't you? Maybe you should try some therapy. And you know, aside from the total hypocrisy, like, imagine telling a woman to try therapy when she complains about equal pay in the workplace or whatever. And that, I mean, they already have that and more, but even that, just imagine if a woman said something to you about how she feels undervalued in her job and you replied with, have you considered trying therapy? Or, you know, scratch that. Imagine if a woman complained about being lonely and not being able to find a boyfriend. You know, the same thing we're talking about right now, except in reverse. You would get canceled 10 times over for even daring to suggest maybe she should just try getting some therapy. And I get it, you know, I get why women are so quick to suggest therapy. I mean, aside from it being another way to shift responsibility back onto men, women actually do believe in therapy, because when a woman goes to therapy, it's an hour-long session of, you go girl, you are so right, you are so valid, it's society that is wrong, you are right. So yeah, they go to therapy and they feel good afterward because the therapist just confirmed and affirmed everything she already believed in. But it's not like that for men. Men go to therapy and what they hear is, you need to work on yourself. Ask yourself why you feel that way. Society is good. It's you that's dysfunctional. And I'm just saying this generally speaking. I'm sure there are some good therapists out there for men, and if you think it might help you in some way, then go ahead and try it out. But generally speaking, therapy is just antagonistic toward men. And of course it's going to be that way because they want you to function in this society, and the whole damn society itself is antagonistic to men, so, you know, it's a gynocentric society. So if you're a therapist and you want to help your male patients function in this society, You're going to have to do your best to help those men repress all their natural instincts and everything it is about themselves that makes them men, because this society is built for women. I don't even know how we got here, how we got to this point. I'm not a historian, and I'm not even particularly intelligent, if you couldn't tell. But some things are obvious. You know, the sky is up, the ground is down, water is wet, and this gynocentric society has put men into an inescapably deep pit of loneliness and despair. And women don't care. And not only that, they just don't even believe it. They can't understand it. It's illogical from their point of view. It's impossible. And most men don't even care either. Even most men that are suffering from loneliness right now. Some of the men that are the worst off. Even they don't believe it. Or they do, but they think it's their own fault. Because we're all living in this same gynocentric society, and it's hard to see the truth when there's such a concerted effort to obfuscate things.